Okay, US dollar index. Let's have a look at the dollar. This is the daily. So what? Let's zoom in again. Let's do the same thing. Down to the 30. What can we see? So, from a trading perspective, it's a bit. Okay, so we started moving underneath these. In case you've not noticed as well, I'm recording live, so this isn't. I've not had a chance to make something up. Yeah, so we're trading underneath these moving averages, and this is obviously during the daily trading session here. What time are we on? So that is 8 o'clock in the morning, Melbourne time. So yeah, that's later on at night. It was midnight. So midnight there, Melbourne, is the US Open. So we bought the Open. We did buy the Open, but we rejected this moving average on the 30-minute chart. Bit of a sell-off here. Still forming a higher low. So that really is something at least. But from a day trading perspective, it's not very bullish. It seems to be sort of selling off during the day and rejecting the moving averages more than everything. You could argue you got a peak and a lower peak. This could potentially turn into something. But this zone here, this is definitely turning into some sort of a support zone. However, we did turn away at this, so potentially, as much as I don't really like to think it, because I'm obviously a dollar bull, this is looking like it could reject and head a little bit lower. If it does, I'm probably going to be looking at heading down to around this sort of level here, 90, before moving back up. Would be ideal. I mean, there's still room to go lower. I just wouldn't particularly want it to. We're obviously still quite a bit higher than where we were. As long as we stay above this range, really, it's looking good. But ideally, I wouldn't want to go any lower than this. But let's have a look on the slightly longer term time frames. See what the hourly gives us. Right. So, I mean, you could argue head and shoulders here. There's your left shoulder, your head, your right shoulder. I mean, you draw where's your trend line? So your neckline is going to be sort of this here, really. And then if we're going to get a measured move down, then in theory we're going to go somewhere down to around here. 89, which from a technical perspective on the long term as a bottom would actually still work. Because we would get sort of a Wyckoff bottom where you get this bull trap as we start to move higher, and then we'll see a bear trap as we move lower. It is possible. But as we start changing the time frames, you can see things start to flip. So we're actually starting to turn green and putting a bottom here, so looking at least a little bit positive, if nothing else. Okay, just clear that out, and let's have a look on the 4-hourly. We'll see what that's telling us. Again, you can still see this head and shoulders formation here, but it's I'm going to put this neck line back in. So this potentially, actually, let's see if this turns into anything. Yeah, possibly. You could argue this is probably going to turn into a bit of a trend. Enough for support. It would be nice if it does. We've got resistance is going to be this sort of level here. There's a bit of a zone. So up to 91. 91 is going to be the key level, really. It's a whole number. We all like whole numbers. So we're looking, if you're bullish, something like that. If you're bearish, you're probably here. I would suggest you're probably going to get a retest. It looks like you might get a move lower and a retest. But you also might get a move lower and a fake out and straight up. So it's difficult to say. But if we start looking at the daily, this is where things look a little bit more interesting, because what we've actually got is we're finding support here at the 50 without dragging things out. So this is the 50-day moving average here. It's actually looking pretty decent. Momentum shifting as well. This is really swinging around. We've had a rally up, didn't quite touch the 100 moving average, but we've come back down again. And we've held this 50, tried to get up with it, but didn't. And we are still holding it again for the moment. Admittedly, it's a red candle, and we have been dipping underneath it. But for now, as long as that's been held, it's could be bullish. What I'd like to see is a few days where we just hold this level. If we can see that, great for the dollar. If we can't see that, yeah, unfortunately, for whatever reason, we're going to be heading a little bit lower, I think.